SpaceX was caught polluting Texas's water. They're only allowed to dump a certain amount of this wastewater, and it appears that they've been dumping too much. Maybe they're not doing it out of money. Maybe they're doing it because they hate the environment.
Think about what you have to do to get caught by Texas for polluting.
A Chicago woman was sentenced to 9 years for stealing food from children. You know, I honestly don't know what she was doing with these wings. Was she like reselling them? What do you do with $1.5 million worth of chicken wings? Stealing food from kids. That's not a good look.
Pretty low.
I was wondering like if there was like some kind of weird tech angle to this.
The Linux Foundation welcomes the Open Model Initiative, which seeks to promote open license AI models.
Buy it once is a good model for purchasing anything, actually.
You know, a fine piece of art may only be worth, you know, maybe $100 in supplies, but like someone has to put in lots of work to make it a nice piece of art. Yeah. And then someone else steals it and makes it into an AI. How the tech are you? Today I've got SpaceX was caught polluting Texas's water. SpaceX repeatedly violated the Clean Water Act by dumping pollutants into nearby bodies of water. This could actually threaten their approval for future launches, as aerospace companies generally need to be in compliance with state and federal laws to be approved for launches by the Federal Aviation Administration. The wastewater deluge system, the system that is doing this polluting, was installed hastily after SpaceX was sued for blowing up their previous launch pad, pelting endangered species nesting sites with concrete, and starting a fire. I will end with a note that not following environmental laws is a great way to save money, but not a great way to care for the planet.
I'm shocked.
What do you guys think?
I'm absolutely shocked.
Yep. Gambling at Rick's?
Usually, like, environmental stuff, like, it's not that expensive to follow environmental rules, usually. Like, when you dig down to what people are doing to get around them, it's usually not worth it that much. But it's usually negligence.
True. I mean, maybe they're not doing it out of money. Maybe they're doing it because they hate the environment.
That's true.
Yeah.
Do you know if it's really like they are specifically not doing it, or was it negligence? They just didn't know that they should be paying attention to this stuff.
I don't know. What I know is they did not permit this wastewater deluge system. So they're only allowed to dump a certain amount of this wastewater, and it appears that they've been dumping too much.
Okay. Do you know what this wastewater is? Is it from manufacturing process or?
Basically, it is from the launch pad. It's used to keep the launch pad cool so that it doesn't blow up.
Right.
Oh, great.
Yeah, so they fire, you know, their rocket, and this keeps the thing that the rocket is being fired into from becoming ejecta.
Yeah, because as you said, they blew up their launch pad before.
Yep.
Do you know? Because it seems like that water would be just like pure water or lake water or something like that. I wouldn't expect it to be like particularly polluted unless it's getting polluted by the rocket itself.
One thing that a lot of people don't realize is that heat is actually a pollutant. That's why dumping wastewater from nuclear power plants needs to be heavily regulated, because that water, even though it's just water, it's hot, and that has an environmental impact that can kill local wildlife. It can damage the ecosystems. It can kill the plants in the water. Essentially, by doing that, you're risking killing all of the life downstream from you for like who knows how far.
And not for nothing, there are pollutants in rocket exhausts.
Yeah.
True. Yeah.
If they're not using just straight, hydrogen and oxygen, which usually the solid rocket stuff is not. I don't know what they use, but it's not that.
Yeah.
But it sounds like if it's a heat problem, but I didn't say what it was. But if it's a heat problem, you could just collect it and keep the water there until it cools off and then dump it. If it's not,
you would think so.
Yeah.
I'm sure we'll find out more about this over time,
Yeah.
actually.
Yeah.
So,
Yeah, it
but-
sounds like if they don't get into compliance, they risk not being able to launch there. So
Yeah.
we'll see.
I mean, and think about what you have to do to get caught by Texas for polluting.
Right?
Yeah.
It's like that when I found out that the former president George W. Bush got a DUI in Texas in 1971 or whatever it was. I'm like, man, you got to be wasted to get a DUI in Texas in 1971 or whatever it was. I forget what year it was, but I mean, this is like one of those things where I'm kind of joking also because there's a lot of federal regulation around this, and I would imagine that it's not just the state of Texas, or it isn't the state of Texas at all. It's the federal government.
And I would assume that the EPA notices when you start launching chunks of concrete into endangered bird nests.
Yeah, they seem to. I would assume so. The birds can't complain, but somebody notices.
Yep.
Oh, the birds can complain. It's just not in English.
Yep.
All right, what do you got next, HK? I see your next story.
All right, my next one is particularly depressing. A Chicago woman was sentenced to 9 years for stealing food from children. Vera Liddell, the food service director for the Harvey School District 152, stole $1.5 million worth of chicken wings that were meant to feed remote learning students. Her chicken wing theft scheme ran from July 2020 to February 2022. The wings were meant for children who were doing remote learning, but were still picking up their school meals. And she will now serve 9 years behind bars.
Did she
What do
use
you
a
guys think?
Facebook group to do this?
I honestly don't know what she was doing with these wings. Was she like reselling them? What do you do with $1.5 million worth of chicken wings?
Does she have like another restaurant on the side or something? Or what?
I mean, I assume she was reselling them, like
Yeah.
selling them to other restaurants or something. The article said that they noticed when like halfway through the school year, the school food budget was over by like $300,000.
Wow.
So she was like not even trying to hide it.
So were they just you're just stealing the chicken wings and they were replacing them, or what was happening? Because how are they like? They did not notice that the chicken wings were gone when they went to try to, make
She was
meals
just
for
over
kids?
ordering. She was the food service director. She made the orders,
Okay.
and she was just over ordering and then taking the boxes, these boxes of chicken wings that she had ordered fraudulently, and taking them home.
Okay.
So, yeah, stealing food from kids. That's not a
That's
good
pretty
look.
low.
It's I was wondering like if there was like some kind of weird tech angle to this. Not that it's not an interesting story or whatever, but I was wondering if like she sold them on Nextdoor and got caught that way, or
Well, the kind of tech angle I had was like these are meant to be like remote learning students' meals. So like this happened during the pandemic. It was kind of
yikes.
like an opportunity for her to go, oh, I can just order a whole bunch more chicken wings now that these meals do end up outside the school.
we should
And
put
wasn't
we
this-
should put tracking devices in the chicken wings. I don't think that I would have any stories on Friday about the tracking devices in the chicken wings if that happened.
Each chicken wing now has an air tag.
And this was happening during the pandemic. Wasn't like chicken wings? It was late in the pandemic, but wasn't chicken wings like the price going way up at the time as well?
Yeah, that may be why she chose.
I don't know.
Maybe why the chicken wings were chosen specifically. I do remember there being a bit of a crunch on chicken
Yeah.
wings. I don't know if it was.
Yeah.
Yeah.
That's crazy.
All right, what do you got next, HK?
All right, my next one is a much lighter story. The Linux Foundation welcomes the Open Model Initiative, which seeks to promote open license AI models. OMI focuses on training and development of AI models that will allow free use through open licenses. Specifically, the models will be licensed in such a way that they will not have recurring costs for access. Note that does not mean that they are necessarily free, just not a recurring charge to access them. Not something like ChatGPT's proprietary one that you have to pay to have access to. They're seeking to release an alpha version of their first model along with fine-tuning scripts by the end of the year. What do you guys think?
Cool. I think that buy it once software model was quite good, and it sounds like companies are going to be able to. It probably would be a thing where if you really wanted to build it from source or whatever, you could probably get it. But like people that wanted binary versions, just like there's other software that does that, and I think that would probably be the model there. And yeah, buy it once is a good model for purchasing anything, actually.
Yeah, and it does actually cost a lot of money to train these models. I heard an estimate that Stable Diffusion 2 cost Stability AI somewhere around $250,000 to train. So these models, they're not exactly big once you're done with them. They're only like, 6 gigabytes or whatever. But that 6 gigabytes took hundreds of thousands of dollars to train, to generate, those models. It's kind of like, a fine piece of art may only be worth, maybe $100 in supplies, but like someone has to put in lots of work to make it a nice piece of art. Yeah. And then someone else steals it and makes it into an AI.
Right. Or they turn it into an NFT.
Right.
Yep.
This is good. I don't know enough about it really, but I always like seeing open source initiatives around things where the field is dominated by corporate entities. So
yep. And I think open licensed AI models will help a lot of innovation in open source software, because a lot of times these open source software that want to do something that requires a model like this, they'll have to pay for API access to some other AI company. So either they pass that on to the end user, they basically say, you can use this product, you just have to pay for an API key for this thing, or they themselves will end up paying the cost of that API access. At which point, running your own like open source thing is costing you a bunch of money. Kind of makes it not feasible to have these sort of open source projects that do this.
Right. Especially like when a lot of the these projects are going to like be donation based, and so raising the kind of money that you would need to pay OpenAI or whatever, which is a funny name for their company now, with all things considered, with the story the story that we're covering here. They end up having to spend a lot more time trying to monetize their project, and then a lot of their money that they do raise goes directly to somebody like OpenAI, instead of them being able to like maybe take care of their developers, or just other things like hire somebody to make better branding for their project, the things that they want to get done, not the thing that not just passing money on to Sam Altman so that that company can continue to run at a loss.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And the other thing that's important, I think, is that a lot of people think that we're not too far away from the crash. And so having open AI models that people can use would also just be useful if all the venture money dries up, because they realize, well, this is a stupid place to put my money.
Yep.
Yeah, I think there has been a lot of talk recently that we are in the crash right now. If you've been watching the stock market at all, but we won't really know until at least a few months out, right?
Well, the thing is, and I don't want to get too into the finances of these AI companies, one, because I don't know that much about it, but you hear, for example, OpenAI talk. They always talk about revenue, but they never tell you that revenue, isn't covering their costs, right? They're like, oh, our revenue doubled, and it's like, well, could you tell us if you're making any money? They're like, no, don't want to talk about that.
Right.
Yeah, because it's also really expensive to run these models. Like when I do, I have a 3090 and like an RTX 3090, and when I just like do stable diffusion and just generate like a few photos, my 3090 is running at like 100% for like about 30 seconds or something. That actually costs money.
Right.
Just the electricity costs money.
Right. And if you're getting, for the images, these image generators I don't even know how many requests they're getting per second. So they're eating up a lot of juice. And the the GPUs they're buying aren't cheap, as evidenced by Nvidia now being one of the most, having gone from a company that was in a non-insignificant amount of trouble, actually financially, to being one of the most valuable companies in the world. And they got pretty good cash reserves now too, because, you know, like the people who really made money in the gold rush were the people selling you the jeans and the tools, right?
Yep.
Not people selling the pickaxes, right? We say the gold people, the people who really made money in gold rush was people selling pickaxes,
right?
Yep.
And Levi Strauss too, because the jeans, everybody wanted.
Yeah,
to
I mean
use
they
the
did
jeans.
too.
Yeah. Yeah.
But I think local inference is probably the way of the future for AI models. Having models be small enough that you could run them, you could do inference on them on consumer devices. So, like a machine like mine with a 3090 would probably be like the very high end models, but like a machine like my laptop here that has 32 gigs of RAM, and then like some of that is allocated as VRAM. You're not going to be able to run the same models on it, but I think we're going to have models eventually good enough running locally that like, all these open source models that they're making are going to end up on like everybody's machines.
Right. Even if you're not aware that it's there, right? It might be, in the GIMP or in Inkscape. They may start being built into some of the graphic design, desktop publishing, video editing tools, et cetera, which would actually
or even like
cool.
built into the operating system.
Well, that sounds a little bloaty to me, but I guess I don't imagine it would be built into something like Ubuntu Studio that is designed for real-time audio processing, but it might be built into standard Ubuntu, like
Ubuntu AI.
Like, I do like the idea of like that Microsoft, the thing that keeps track of like everything you do on your computer, where it takes a screenshot and then you could ask it things. I like that idea, but it's like horrifying to think that it was Microsoft that wrote all that code.
Right. It's
and
phoning
like
home.
I can't see the code that they wrote.
Right. It's certainly phoning home. There would be no reason to believe that it is not phoning home.
Yeah. So like if it were open source code doing that, running an open source model, I could definitely see myself using something like that. So I could ask like, what the heck was that website that I looked up, 2 weeks ago that I don't remember now?
Or just, what am I wasting all my time on? It would just come back and say Twitter to me. Or it would say, hold on, let me ask your television.
Thank you, everybody. This has been How the Tech Are You? We do this show every week and put it up in multiple parts on YouTube. If you want to check out our other shows, you can do that at echoplexmedia.com. And if you want to support us, you can do that at patreon.com/echoplex or eplex.store. Be sure to like the video and subscribe to the channel for more. And there will be another video on the screen right around here somewhere. And have a great Techin' week.